Hi guys, today I'm going to look at paper 1 question 4 of the November 2018 paper 1 and that is the Ray Bradbury Sound of Thunder text. I'm just going to let you have a look at that, so just pause. If you've not had access to it, you could pause and read through it. You'll see there's just my notes on here from when I was looking at the question 3. So I'll just let you have a moment if you need to pause the video and have a read through. Okay, there we go. Right, okay, so we've looked at questions 2 and 3. I wanted to now focus our attention onto question 4, and I'm going to just show you the start of a response that I've written to this. I'm looking here at this sort of quality of response, and sometimes I really focus things on here's a grade 9. I'm aware that not every student is always aiming for that grade 9, so the response I've done here would be a grade 7 quality, and I've written basically the first half of this. Okay, so this task asked you to look at the second part of this source from lines 31 to the end, and sorry if you hear weird noises, my dog's snoring and groaning. Stop it, Henry, stop it. And so the student statement says, this part of the story where the men encounter the T-Rex shows Eccles' right to panic. The monster is terrifying. So as always, there's a kind of two-part nature to the statement, and I think there's conflicting advice on this. I've certainly come across things where it says students don't need to deal with both parts of it, or both parts in equal balance. And whilst I think that is right, I am also aware that your examiner may the problem with English is subjective, and they may want to see both elements of that statement addressed. I think to be on the safe side, I would, if I were you, just be trying to ensure that both parts of the statement are covered. But yeah, just to be on the safe side, really. So I always start my responses to a question 4 with, to an extent I agree, and I want to show you why my starting off with an I entirely agree is not the kind of best approach. So we've got two things here: Eccles' right to panic and the monster is terrifying. How much do we agree? So I start, you could read this and on the surface you think absolutely, it's a huge T-Rex, they're tiny human beings, there's no competition, obviously it's terrifying, obviously he's right to panic. And you could write your answer and get full marks, entirely agreeing. But what I think the danger is that if you start off with an I entirely agree, you risk kind of narrowing your interpretations as you go through this question, and you don't leave yourself room to go, actually, I'm not sure about that. Which is kind of what I did as I was writing this response, to be honest. So I started off going, yeah, I entirely agree with the statement because the T-Rex is a dominant vast predator, which is wholly terrifying. So I'm saying, yeah, I'm showing evaluation. I'm saying this is my point of view. It is terrifying. And I'm using here, referring to that word that's in the statement. So I'm going to sort of go on to talk about why I agree. So the power and strength of the tyrant lizard, embedded quote there, is conveyed through metaphors such as armoured flesh, which suggests the dinosaur is almost battle ready, a creature of war. So I've got here, because I've mentioned the metaphors, I've got the use of writers' methods. And remember, we cannot get above half marks for this question if you don't have techniques in it. So methods is the proper word. So that could be language, that could be structure, that could be other things, but it's not enough just to simply put a quote in there. So just armoured flesh, which suggests the dinosaur is almost battle ready, a creature of war. So this is kind of, here's me evaluating, why this is frightening, because of this. This is why I agree it's terrifying, because of this image of it. Its movements are also terrifying. So I'm constantly trying to link that back to the statement. Okay, we are told it lunged forward, which suggests it was moving to attack. The noun phrase, so more methods, terrible scream, paired with details about its pace. Now, here's a tip of something you can do. Rather than write out lengthy quotes, just put the lines there. It just saves you time on this response. This is about its pace. Show that the T-Rex is a petrifying force of nature. So I'm all the time trying to, I guess, justify and back up why I'm agreeing. The men would not stand a chance against the monster. So I'm very much entirely agreeing. It's terrifying. But as I was sort of writing my response, I was thinking, but they've got guns and they kill it, and it has a cross. It's got a red kind of cross on it, which shows it was pre-arranged as a target. So were they right to panic? I don't know if they were. So I wanted to think about this counter argument. And so I kind of went on to say, however, despite their fear, the men are armed with rifles. So I've got more evidence. So they are prepared to defend themselves. Indeed, Tyrannosaurus fell, showing that they were not right to panic. Yes, it was terrifying, but they had the equipment they needed to kill it. And it had previously been selected as a suitable target, as is seen through the dialogue. There's the red paint on its chest, which shows that it should have been within their capability to kill it, and so on and so forth. So what you can see there is I've got, in terms of my methods in this section, we've got dialogue. So the good thing about this question is you can merge your language and your structure elements. So what I've got here is an extent to which I don't necessarily entirely agree. And so that's why, and if we just go back up to how I started off this response, I just think it's always a bit better if you say to an extent I agree with the statement, or to a certain extent, or to even to a large degree, or a significant extent. But I think just, I'm not saying don't do it, but I think entirely is sometimes a tricky thing, because you limit yourself, and when you find other more interesting lines of inquiry to go down, you possibly think, oh well, no, because my answer says I totally agree with it, so I can't kind of go down that. So I would, looking at this would be grade 7 to 8. In terms of, I think probably I could push my level of evaluation if I was going into those really top grades, that really sort of grade 9 point. And in terms of how much I've done here, I've basically done 2 evaluative points. So I'd be looking, when I mark this, for students to perhaps make 4 points. So, about a side and 3/4 or somewhere in that region in terms of how much to write. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope it was useful.